What's going on, y'all? Movie Man Mikey here, and today we're going to be talking about Challengers. This film immerses itself in the sports world of tennis as we follow the lengthy and rocky relationship between two young talents when another player comes in to form a chaotic love triangle. Luca Guadagnino is a director I've been familiar with since 2015's A Bigger Splash, and I remember the one and only time I saw it way back when. I thought it was just okay. But since then, efforts like Call Me By Your Name and Bones and All have really resonated with me strongly. I think Bones and All is a really good romance movie, and I would say Call Me By Your Name is probably one of the best films of the last 10 years. I missed out on his Suspiria remake and probably will continue to do so until I see the original one from the 70s. But when the first trailer for Challengers was dropped last summer, while I wasn't super intrigued by the surface level romance, what I was intrigued by were the names of Luca and Zendaya. And then with the writer's strike, the movie ended up getting pushed from September to now April, and that only gave me more time to be excited. Add on top of that, the anticipation was elevating because of the flurry of positive reviews I had seen before going in. Now, having finally seen the film myself, while I'm definitely not as in love as many other people seem to be, I still had a pretty good time overall. If there's one thing to count on if you see any of Luca Guadagnino's films, it's his innate ability to capture the beauty and the aesthetic and all of the surrounding environments and atmospheres. Here, though much of the movie is filmed in Boston locations, he's able to transform them into believable, lived-in New York landscapes. Leading up to the film's release, I also think it's funny how in an interview, Luca Guadagnino said that he doesn't watch tennis matches, he thinks they're boring. Not exactly the kind of thing you want to hear from someone who's directing a tennis-centric movie, but surprisingly, in the final cut, those scenes are some of the most captivating and gripping thanks to the creative camera work. The colorful and rich aesthetic of the film extends not only through the visual scenery, but also straight up the sexy nature of our three main performers, who are probably the film's strongest aspect. One of the last shows I watched growing up was Shake It Up on Disney Channel with Zendaya, and seeing her performances in things like Euphoria and now this movie, it's wild to see how far she's come. I don't know if I'd confidently pinpoint her as the film's lead necessarily, but what I would confidently say is that whenever she is on screen, she has a commanding and just daunting aura, all while maintaining a very sleek presence. While their names might not carry the same weight or star power as Zendaya, Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor, as these two desperate but driven players, are able to measure up to her pretty well. The vulnerability from Feist's character is noticeable and palpable from his mannerisms and his facial expressions. And with Josh O'Connor, while I was able to tell he was putting on an American voice over his natural British voice, I still thought his arrogant character was compelling to follow. The story itself jumps around a lot over the course of 13 years, if I remember correctly, showing the different relationships of the characters as they progress through various stages of life. And while I did think that made the narrative feel aimless and hard to follow at times, most notably in the film's second act, I was still pretty engaged for a majority. And lastly, without getting into spoilers, the finale is deliberately structured in such an ambiguous way that left me feeling a lot of conflicted emotions, and even a couple days later after having seen the film, I'm not sure if it was for the better. All things considered, I'm going to give Challengers a 3 out of 5. It never really goes below the sexy surface level touted in trailers, but it's still definitely on the upper half of theatrical experiences for me this year. So those are all of my thoughts on Challengers. To see where it would rank with the rest of the 2024 films I've seen, I have that linked on Letterboxd down below, which you can also check out for my opinion on thousands of other movies. And now it's time for y'all to sound off in the comments. Did you like this way more than me, dislike it way more, or feel something completely different? Whatever it is, it should be a fun discussion down there. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks a ton for making it to the end. I've been Movie Man Mikey, and always remember, enjoy yourself.